Hello, this is Truth Be Told Transformation, and I'm Bonnie Burkert, here to share tools for transformation to live your highest truth. One thing that's true for me is that I love watching the seasons change and the energies that go with it. So I've invited a lovely, lovely divine woman who I feel follows that same interest in love as I do to celebrate and talk about the special high holiday of Beltane. Welcome, Sianna Sherman.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Hello. Thanks, Bonnie, for having me.
It's great. It's a special day, and I'm really happy to have you here as well.
So grateful.
Shall we tune in? And
yes,
I think we need to center a little.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, family. So here we are at Beltane at the Beltane, and it is this beautiful midpoint between the spring equinox and the summer solstice. And one of the great allies of this particular festival are the honeybees. And so I thought a nice blessing will be the Brahmari honeybee breath.
Great.
And we can bring that in.
Okay.
So let's bring one hand over our heart, maybe the other hand to your belly or wherever you feel it. And begin to visualize that your heart is like a great beehive. And we are churning the honey of the heart in this most auspicious, delicious time that celebrates the eros and the juiciness and the sexuality and the flowering of the earth and healing energy, fertility, and creative energy too. So let's take a big breath in and blow it out. Do that once more. Just allow yourself to gently hum the honeybee Brahmari breath. Keep humming, and you might like to circle your body a little bit and just let it pulse and breathe. This is very good for the nervous system, for regulating, for grounding, connecting, and healing, and invoke and call in your own creative energy, as well as the beauty of the deepest healing for your body, your mind, and your heart at this time. And now begin to see a circle of connection and protection all around you so that you just feel so centered in the moment and open to the great invocation of spirit and of life and of this creative, fertile, healing, and radiant energy. This is a time where the fairy folk, where the jubilant spirit, the joy of the earth is surging through the whole of our being, and it just gives you that little extra spark of hope and possibility and dreaming into being and really celebrating life. So let's take one moment here to hold an intention in our heart, in our honey heart, a prayer for our lives at this time and for the world, and for each of us to bring our gifts, our magic, our contributions to this world and really make a difference and bring that spark, that radiant power that we are as a great gift. Now chant one time Awen, which is a Gaelic word that loosely translates to the flowing spirit. And you can join me. I'll chant it as A, Ulu, and Wen. Breathing out and in. The flowing spirit of life and joy and love and eros flowing through each of us. Blessed be.
Blessed be. Wow, thank you. We're just taking a moment to soak that all in. And there was so much that was happening there. Let's talk about the honeybee.
The honeybee. Okay. So in this particular festival, so this is one of the 4 fire festivals in the Wheel of the Year. Okay. Could I just pause?
Sure, please. Let's talk about the Celtic Wheel of the Year.
So I have, if you just draw a wheel, you can make a circle. And then you could draw the solstices at the top and the bottom and the equinoxes on each side, the left and the right, and then just make a cross going through it. And those 4 points, the cross-quarter days in between, are these 4 fire festivals, which are the midpoints between the equinoxes and the solstices. So we're at the midpoint between the spring equinox and the summer solstice. And so we're at that middle place between the two in the earliest announcement of the summer. And this is the festival, the fire festival, that loves to celebrate the flowering of the earth, the eros of the earth, the pollination, the honey makers, the culture shapers, the bringing forth of the fertility and the flowering of life. And there's a very special drink that is celebrated for Beltane, as we often say it, or Beltane, as you sometimes hear it too, and that is called honey mead. And so it's a fermented honey wine, or any type of honey elixir will do. But this is a very special drink that's in honor of the sacred rites of alchemical marriage, of the great rite of coming into the love play, really celebrating life with our lovers. And this festival is famous for it. So then in the divine union, and let's say that a couple choose to really decree and declare their vows to each other, they would be given the sacred drink of honey mead, which then they would drink through a whole lunar cycle, and it becomes the honey moon. And so it's the drink of the elixir of the honeybees that helps us to come like closer to each other, really honor the depth and the beauty that we are, to allow ourselves to be seen and to see the other and to come into the greatest union and love. And so Beltane is a great celebration of all the lovers in all the forms and all the ways upon the earth.
That is spectacular. I love that. And I mean, bees are pollinators.
They're pollinators, they're community keepers as well. So like the bees are the great remembrance of the power of the collective, which I could just tell this one story about Beltane. Okay. So one of my favorite things about Beltane, because I've been celebrating it for more than 30 years, and I've celebrated it all over the world and in great festivals for Beltane. So one of the things that you can do is that, and it's from the tradition, is that let's say that we were all in a community and living together as a village. And then on Beltane Eve, we would come to the central bonfire. And Beltane means bright fire. It's the bright Bel fire, the bright bonfire, the bright fire of Bel and Belunus and the energy of the sun. And so we'd all come around on Beltane Eve and celebrate and dance and sing, offer our gifts, the poetry of life around the fire. And we would consciously extinguish the flames in our own individual homes, come to the collective honeybee fire, we'll call it. Okay. And there is that blazing fire to remind us that we are all connected, to come in unity as a community, offer our gifts, sing and merry make together, and then take a log or a torch and some of that flame back to our individual homes. Okay. And then the blessings are amplified through the power of the collective and through the community. And so the honeybees are the great remembrance too of the power of working together with mutual respect, with collective care, and for the benefit of the whole hive or of the community.
What a great,
so all these things connect.
How special. I mean, it really, don't you just love looking back at the at the lore and really where it comes from? I mean, some of it was actually even practical, right? It wasn't just ritual. Mm-hmm. I mean, it became ritual, but it wasn't ritual for ritual's sake. I mean, there was really a point. And but fire was important. That's what they celebrated, but it was the fire that everyone shared.
Yes. Speaking of fire. Yes. Oh, you want to do that right now?
That's up to you. You let me know when that comes into play.
Well, let's give it one more moment. I have 2 candles here, and if you all want to get a candle and have it near, we can light that in a ritual way in just a moment.
All right. But maybe first we talk a bit more about how fire plays a huge part in Beltane.
Yes, because there's actually two codes. There's fire and water. And so Beltane Eve ignites. So in the Celtic Wheel of the Year, you begin the festival the night before its sunset. So last night is Beltane Eve, and that's where my beloved and I initiated the ceremony for us. So you begin with the fire on the evening before, and then you go through the night. Now, this fire of Beltane, is a fire that protects, purifies, celebrates, and draws people together to hear the stories and sing the songs and to really celebrate. And then it's also a remembrance of the alchemical fire within us, of our own heart fire, of our deep belly fire, and of our clear, radiant brow fire of clear sight and intuition too. So it's opening the gateways of the Kundalini within us and also within the community. And then this fire, if there's different traditions, some will be you take like the animals of the land and you move them through the gateways of the fire for purification and protection. If you want to, with your lover, you can join hands and leap over the flames of the Beltane fire, which is really a lot of fun too.
Did you do it?
We did it last night.
All right, that's so amazing. I love it.
And then also, let's say that it's also a time of healing too, because the fire protects, it purifies, it brings forth the fertility, the creativity. So let's say that we have something that we want to revitalize and rejuvenate. We could leap over those flames, asking the spirit of the fire to help support us in our healing too. And I love that part of the tradition. Then as you go through the night and you're, making love and singing songs and celebrating the earth and celebrating the gift of life, then when it comes to the early morning of Beltane morning, this is the code of the water and the morning dew. Now you go and you collect the morning dew from the flowers, the trees, the little blades of grass, and you sweep it. And I was doing this early this morning. You place the morning dew all over your skin and your hair and your body. And it's one of the secret elixirs of youth from the fairy realm, because Beltane, just like Samhain, are when the veil between the worlds is most thin, a liminal space, and the fairy folk and the elementals and the nature spirits just have a little bit more openness in the play of all the celebrations too.
I got up this morning. I was letting Sianna know that I was up really early, and that's why. So I do remember that, and I've done it for a lot of years. There's not a lot of dew in Southern California. That's the only tricky part. So one of these years, I'm going to have Beltane someplace where there really is some lushness to the grass. So I feel a draw to like Glastonbury or someplace like that.
Yes,
but
many times.
it is just a lovely ritual. It is a celebration of spring, right? I mean, we are in high spring right now, and there are flowers. So I basically just went and put my face in the roses that I found around the neighborhood. So I love hearing you share what you're doing, as well as, I wanted to ask you about the veils being thin, as we know them to be 6 months from now, which is Samhain. So talking about the Wheel of the Year, and I think it's really interesting to look at, like you say, the wheel, the circle, carve it up, but looking at Beltane and Samhain, Halloween, as pinnacle points, right? Because that's where you really talk about the light changing at those two holidays, correct?
Yes. So they're both considered very liminal space, betwixt and between, as the Irish might like to say. I have a lot of Irish through my family. So one of the understandings through the Irish lore is that, and I'll come back to this healing understanding, is that there are multiple realms, and the other realm, some of the other realms, and through the fairy realms, sometimes we learn how to travel into the other realms in order to, like in our soul's quest, to find a medicine for our soul that we can't quite find in this realm. And so we learn how to move through the gateways of the liminal spaces and in a certain way retrieve certain medicines and gifts through those realms and bring them back. And it becomes a medicine for our soul and also that which we can help support other friends as well. And so at the time of Beltane and Beltane, that liminal space opens, and some of the traditional colors are red and white. And it's said in the Irish way that whenever you see the red and the white, it's a symbol and a connection to the fairy folk through the other realm. So you might dream about, for example, a white animal with red eyes like that, and that comes in the dream world. Or you might have a vision, and that's that other realm speaking. And then that alchemical red and white, which then you'll often see danced around the maypole, the red and white, or many times multiple colors of ribbons. It's then also symbolic of all the alchemy of the milk in the blood or the semen in the blood mysteries. And so there's all these extra codes that get woven in. And then what's happening is that there's a surge of energy that comes through the vessel of our being because we're learning how to travel betwixt and between and to move through. And then at Beltane and Samhain, that liminal space becomes more accessible and the veil between the worlds is thin. We come together in community and ritual, and it amplifies.
Yeah. And plus working with the ancestors, right? So
Samhain.
So the community being those who've gone before. So also, I mean, it makes sense. Like, how we're always talking about that, especially with Day of the Dead and everything like that. So it feels really good. It feels really good. So what are some other favorite rituals you have around this? Or is it, you mentioned color. We mentioned things like fire, the morning dew, the mead, because I was going to say about foods and drinks. So I had not thought about the mead, but that makes perfect sense.
Mead, the honey mead as a honey wine or honey elixirs, anything honey.
Yeah.
Okay. Oat cakes, honey, the fruits, the seeds, the nuts. Last night I made a beautiful plate for the fairy folk, and I took it out and poured a little honey mead to the earth.
I'm going to do that. Is it too late? Will they still be here tonight?
Wait. And let's talk about that because we've got a whole window depending how you celebrate. First, we have the whole month of May, which is the month of the flowering of May that this initiates.
Okay.
Then we had, for some friends, the full moon in Scorpio is a time to really celebrate Beltane. Then we have the astrological Beltane, which is the midpoint when the sun is at 15 degrees Taurus.
Okay.
So we're in the Taurus season. So when the sun is exact at 15 degrees Taurus, that is astrological Beltane, and that's coming up on May 5th. So see, we still have a whole time as well as the whole month of May. So the ways that some of the fun rituals, and I'll offer ones, anything with flame, and we're going to light this candle consciously in a moment. Then pouring oblations, like in a chalice or a beautiful glass or bowl that you have, and then really just sipping that consciously and giving it to others too. The Mayflower wreath that you have on, I'll turn my phone so that Instagram can see you too.
Because that's the other day, yeah.
Because this is the crowning of the May Queen and the May King, and through the flowering power. Then it's a celebration of all things of the senses. So the eros of the earth through the gateways of all of our senses. And then here's a beautiful one that you all can do. And I'm going to do it tonight. You write a love letter now this love letter could be to the earth. It could be to a lover. It could be to yourself. It could be to calling in a beloved. It could be to the divine as beloved. It could be a letter that is courting the divine, like really the courtship that you have with just the juiciness, the joy, and the eros of life. And then you take that letter, and if you want, you light your Beltane flame, and you can then consciously give the letter, your love letter, to the flame, gather up the ashes, keep them for the time that you choose, like right now, if you're doing it right now, you could take it all the way through the new moon of Taurus, right? And then at that new moon of Taurus, give those ashes and your songs and your prayers, and then let the earth take it and fertilize it, and then beam you into this awakening and this awakened love. And through the courtship with the divine.
All right. Thank you. I've got my marching orders. I know what I'm doing this evening for sure. No, it's fantastic. You know what I'm really thinking about too? Taurus.
Yes.
Here we are,
Here,
right?
Taurus season.
Earthy, the horns,
Yes.
right? Which work with the green man of lore here. So it's funny how it all just starts to weave together.
Yes. One of the rituals or rites is called the Greenwood Marriage through the Beltane festivals. And it's one of the ways it's described is like the stagged horned god and the earth and the fertility and the lady of the land come together in this great sexual rite and union. And it gives birth to that which has never been seen before. And you don't have to take it as a gender binary. You can just bring it all as the alchemical codes. And it's, think of like whatever feels like it's the opposites within us, and that we start to pull it in and weave it like the Beltane dance. So when you dance around the maypole, you have these ribbons and people go one way and the other way, and you're weaving the dance. So it's an alchemical weaving inside. And then it brings forth a creative energy that you've never seen before. It brings forth the new. And I think that's the power of the dance and of the alchemical union of Beltane too.
Feels good.
And so Taurus is one of the archetypes of Taurus season is the lover, is the sensualist, is the flowering of the earth. It's deep earth. It's a fixed earth energy. So it's like the deepest codes of the earth and of the fertility.
It's amazing. I feel like maybe we could take a little pause here. And I know that we've got some people that have joined us live.
Yeah.
Do you want to, I'm looking at our beautiful, our, bells and chime. And I was wondering if you'd like to maybe share a little bit with us, and let's just take this in and
let's do it. So I brought this time, it's also the time of the flowering trees. And if we were to mark Beltane by the flowering tree of the hawthorn, when the hawthorn comes to blossom, that's considered to be also the gateway of Beltane. And it's a tree of the fairy folk. And so the fairy realms love all things that chime and ring. And so what you can do, if you like, is you can just have anything like little bells and go sit with the earth and play the song through the bells and through the chimes, and to call in the remembrance of your awe and wonder, of the joy of the earth. We've all maybe heard the phrase that the poetry that the earth laughs and flowers. And how might the flowering of consciousness be opening and blossoming inside of you and in your life right now? How might you like to communicate with the elementals and with the fairy realms, the nature spirits, and spark your own joy and remembrance of who you truly are, and like a child of the universe, be in awe and wonder of the miracle that is life. So if you might like to sit outside tonight or in the early morning and just go sit with the tree or a plant or the grass, the sun, the moon, and the stars, and offer a few little chiming, ringing, singing sounds.
I could listen to those for the rest of the show. Can you just keep going?
Yeah. So
It
beautiful.
just feels so great. Can we talk about fairies a little bit?
Yes.
I just want to know them more. And it's funny. I remember, because I had always heard on Beltane Eve if you ask, to call in the fairies. And I had just moved to California and from New York, and I wasn't used to sort of yards because I lived in Manhattan in an apartment. And so I was at my house sitting, and I was outside, and it was getting dark, and I put out a wish. I said, I would like to meet the fairies. And, just imagining. And then there was a rustling in the leaves, and I freaked out and ran inside. And I realized, maybe those were fairies.
Mm-hmm.
Careful what you wish for. So is that an example? How does one know? I mean, just little tips.
I think that a big part of this is being open in the gateways of imaginal intelligence.
Okay.
And to allow the linear constructs to just loosen their grip, which you have an easy time to do, and to open up to the multidimensionality that we really are right now in this moment. And then I think one of the easiest ways to really connect with nature spirits, fairy realms, and these ways is to commune with nature, is to really commune with nature and to go and give gifts. This is the thing that I can say the most, like to feel a place in nature that it might just be right outside your door. Right outside our front door, we have rosemary and lavender and thyme. And I go out every morning and just give little songs and gifts. And so, or you might go to a forest or your favorite place in nature, but go and be and give the gift of your voice, little things that you make, perhaps little foods, and just let the nature realms know that you are there in the way of gift giving. You are there in a way of communion and communing, that we are there in a way to be relational. And I think that this is maybe the most important thing. And then to stay very open and to soften the gaze and allow that widening of consciousness inside. And you can travel inwardly and outwardly at the same time. And you begin to sense things, feel things, a little visions start to happen where it comes through your dreams, or you can feel it. And a sort of clairaudience or clairsentience or clairvoyance begins to open.
Okay, it's a great way of looking at it.
Yeah.
And I love the offering part. It really is.
The offering is so key.
Yeah, exactly. Even if it's just water. I mean, I think in Native American tradition, we talk of tobacco, leaving tobacco, for example. But sometimes I don't have tobacco on me ever, but could certainly find. But if I don't have it, like if I'm harvesting some sage from the hills here, water will do, correct? Yeah, something like that. So when did you get started in your life knowing about Beltane?
Beltane. So when I was around 18 or 19 years old, I was very close with my grandmother, my mom's mom, because she lived quite near. And she was Irish, and Anna Marie O'Fahey, and born of Anna O'Sullivan and John O'Fahey. And I was very close to her, and she would tell me a lot of stories. And she was a Taurus, and she was a farmer, and I was always picking strawberries with her and shelling peas and always in the fields and with the plants. And she would just hold me on her lap a lot and just tell me stories. And I thought, I really want to go to Ireland and know this part of me. And so I traveled. I was en route to medical school, and I deferred all that. And I said, I'm just going to go find my roots a little bit. And so I traveled to Ireland first. And then I went from Ireland to India, and then came back from India and went back to this second medical school started it, but then I started to feel like I have to go back again. And so then I was coming back and came back. And right at that time, I met my first Irish teacher. And that was in the early 90s, so 92 and 93. And I was initiated through a priestess lineage, through this Irish tradition. And I learned about the Wheel of the Year, and that was my first Beltane that I celebrated, and I've been celebrating ever since.
Oh, incredible. Wow, what a beautiful way to learn. I mean, truly in your roots. I mean, because that's what we're celebrating so often with these holidays. For me, I think it started, I started understanding about Yule.
Yes.
So I started to look, my lineage is somewhat Irish, but a little more German. And so I started thinking about traditions because Christmas is beautiful over in that part of the world, I find. And so I did some studying and I started to look around traditions and the Yule log, which ties in with the maypole, correct? And so it was, I think it was there that's how I discovered the Wheel of the Year. And those were and then sort of the tie-in with the sun, the movement of the sun, right? So here we are. The days are really long right now. So one of the things I really like to talk about is this moving into the light half of the year, correct? So that's the way this marks, May 1st marks what is considered the light half versus Halloween, the dark half. So any thoughts on that?
Well, there's a few ways of looking at it, but so in the Wheel of the Year, all the 8 festivals are, they're around 6.5 weeks apart.
Right.
And so the fire festivals, the ones in between equinoxes and solstices, in some traditions, they're considered to be the earliest announcement of. So the Beltane would be the earliest. We're in the height of spring, but it's the earliest announcement of the summer.
Yeah.
And once we've crossed over the spring equinox, the days are getting longer all the way up to the summer solstice. And so now we have a great surge of the light, especially from Beltane all the way up to the longest day of the year at summer solstice, the peak of the sun. And so this then is celebrating in one tradition, it's celebrating the power of the oak king, the power of the oak tree gaining its strength all the way up through the summer sun. It's the power of the inner victory of the self. It's the power of the awakening of consciousness through the light of the year, as well as the celebration time to be in community. Then when we move towards the other side, now in the southern hemisphere, Beltane right now is Samhain. So while we're in the northern hemisphere and all the light is surging, in the southern hemisphere, it's Samhain and moving through the ancestral gateways and into the dream time and the cauldron brewing time of the year and moving into the darkest time of the year. And so it's kind of cool to think about that as the whole world and to embrace it all at the same time. But here we are, and it feels like, if you have the feeling like I'm just ready to bring it all the way through, like I just want to go for it and have this celebration and bring my gifts through. And then when we're in the dark half of the year, it's turning into the inner dream states, to the inner divination kind of states, to the ancestral realms and working inwardly. And now we're starting to open up more outwardly.
Yeah. It's really neat to think about, and I also was quite fascinated when I heard Samhain referenced as a new year, and the new time, like the beginning of the year. And I was like, oh, isn't that the solstice? But when you're really talking about, and I come back, and we'll do a deep dive on Samhain for sure. But if you think about it, the Wheel of the Year, and you think about that being, I don't know, I guess the really quiet time. And just that there's always, in the cycle, there's always that gestation period. And then there's the spark of the return of light at Yule, correct? And so on and so on and so on. And round we go.
There's a cool thing there. And it's, so how I was saying that the festival begins at sunset, right? The evening before. Because in the Celtic notion and understanding, life begins in the dark. And so the seed is nourished in the soil. And you think of like the soil and the soul. Master Eckhart would teach that the ground of the soul is dark, because we got to go like all the way into that gestation, to that innermost deep dreaming. That's where the fertility of the darkness of the soil and the soul and everything is being shaped and envisioned in order to come into the outer manifest. But the beginning is in the dark, like in the womb of the night sky, in the womb of the pregnancy. It's all beginning and it's held in there. And so the beginning then is in that dark time. So then Samhain, you could hear it as Witch's New Year by some, that it begins in the dark. It begins in the dark. And so that's how we can end up. And then the Fire Festival begins with sunset, and it begins in the dark.
Okay. Well, we're not too late to celebrate tonight, though. I will take full advantage of it, especially since you mentioned that we've got energies all the way through Sunday, plus the new moon is in just a week. So there's a lot happening right now. And I mean, it's kind of a full-time job to take to participate in full constantly, especially if you want to have flower crowns and things like that.
Yes, I love yours. So inspired.
Not too late to make your own flower crown. So in our final moments, I don't know if you'd like to work with this, and just words for the community, sort of at large and things like that. So
okay, so if you like, I brought this candle for you.
I appreciate it.
And so if you like, just like take a moment. Now you could visualize this too, or you might have an actual candle, but just visualize for a moment that you are moving towards the center of a great community. Hearth fire and heart fire and bonfire and Beltane fire, the bright fire. And this bright fire of the collective and of the whole and of the community and of all these relationships is blazing brightly, and it's calling you near. Like the fire itself is calling you near. You begin to hear its sizzle. You begin to hear its song. Maybe you can see in the flames, and you begin to have like a vision of the fire communing with you through what you see in the flames of the fire. And just let yourself feel it and come more and more near. Now know that you have consciously, let's visualize that in your own personal home, you have very consciously put out the hearth fire in your own home to then release the burdens and the struggles of any of the individual feelings of being like, I'm all alone, where I have to do it all by myself, where I can't remember the truth of who I am right now. Just any of those feelings that you may have been feeling for a while, we're going to give them consciously to this alchemical flame. And here we're going to release shame and blame and struggle and doubt and confusion. And we're going to just put it into the flame and know that the flame instantly transmutes, protects, purifies, and opens up an inner sight, opens up the path of new. And then as you come closer and closer to this great heart fire, really feel it awakening inside of you. And then when you're ready, I'm going to pass this to Bonnie first. Light your flame, and you can do it inwardly and visually, or you can physically do it with a candle and a flame. And just light it and let the fire begin to ignite a new kind of magic inside the depth of your being, because Beltane is a time of deep celebration, magic, and joy. And call in your Beltane prayer, song, remembrance, intention, and really see this flame And you might like to take it and just give yourself a blessing. And then you could take this flame all around your home and to friends who might live in your home and to animals and plants and just bless and over to Bonnie and over to our friends here in this beautiful studio and to all, and just give the blessing energy, because this is a time that's generative of the heart fire and of blessing energy. And then maybe in the next few days, you might like to write your love letter, an Eros letter, and you'll give it to the flame. And I'll just offer this one, just very short, and you might like to jump over this flame. So we could do that too. You could just put it on the ground and jump over it too. So just feel this. Heart to heart and hand to hand in this circle of community, here we stand, bringing magic, Beltane magic to this land. Beltane magic do we sing, chant the rune and dance the ring. Joy and blessings shall it bring. So call this in for yourself, for your life, for your community, and for the world and for each other. Thank you to the great bright fire in our hearts, our minds, our bodies, great spirit, and the blessings of Awen, the flowing spirit, through each and every one of us. Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you, each and all.
Oh, this is so beautiful. And honestly, you've got some serious magic, Sianna, because one of our lights just blew out. If it's looking a little darker, so things are, they just want to let the fire, just like, we don't need to be here. We've got the fire to light our way. So thank you. What a blessing it was to have you here, truly. And I hope you'll come back and tell us more of all you're doing. I know that you're a wonderful yogi, and that's like a whole nother subject. And we've got all kinds of different Sabbats every 6 weeks. So all right. So I hope that you will have a chance. I know that Sianna has a lot of her friends watching, and thank you for tuning in to discover Truth Be Told Transformation. And you can find Sianna at siannasherman.com. Is that right? Thank you. We're very blessed to have you here, and it's really wonderful to observe these holidays and do so in community. So thanks for being a part of our community. Truth Be Told has new episodes every week. You can catch Tony live on Fridays at 3 p.m. I'm Bonnie Burkert, and until the next time, shine on.